Welcome back to the city of Oxburgh, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm Tim Eister, and in today's episode, we're going to continue to expand and evolve the city. And we're going to start things off by developing a small island between Hillside and downtown called Barlow Island. And I struggled for quite a while to figure out what I wanted to do here. And it wasn't until I took some time exploring random locations on Google Maps that it finally clicked and I figured out what I wanted to build here. So it's not going to be too complicated, actually. It's going to be rather simple. On this little island is going to go 3 kind of more luxurious and posh residential towers. And the inspiration for this little island comes from a place called Nuns Island in Montreal, which was for a long time an agricultural island inhabited by pretty much only nuns. But in the 1960s, after a change of hands, it was quickly urbanized into what it is today. Basically a residential island featuring many condominiums, a lot of apartment buildings, and a few other amenities like some nice parks and a golf course. Now, unfortunately, Barlow Island is not nearly the same size as Nuns Island in real life, so I'm not going to be able to fit as many interesting things on this island in the game, but I'm going to make an effort to squeeze in as many interesting things as I possibly can. So you'll just have to stay tuned and watch throughout the episode and see what I manage to shove onto this small island. But we're going to get things off started by this beautiful condo building facing Old Town and the bay. Obviously, this would be a very expensive place to live. And this building here is part of the China Pack. So it looks like a modern condominium building that you would find in a lot of North American cities as well. So I just thought that it fit perfectly within this constraint space here. After plopping this building, I'm going to spend a lot of time landscaping around it. I'm going to add a lot of little trails and pathways and parks. Just like on Nuns Island in real life, it's a very green and kind of pretty island. Because Nuns Island is relatively modern, it was first urbanized in the 1960s, and it actually followed a master urban development plan. So it wasn't just like naturally grown, hundreds of years ago. It was built from the ground up in a planned fashion. And then we're going to move on to our next building, which is the Polaris Suite. This is a default vanilla signature residential building. So not only does it provide extra residents into the city, it actually provides various perks, which I don't remember what they are, but it provides benefits in a particular radius around the building. So this building is going to be quite interesting as well because it has some really nice landscaping around it. We have like this public pedestrian area in the front of it, which we are going to expand on. So using various mods, we're able to plop down some of the default ground textures to kind of create our own custom parks in front of this building. So that's what I'm going to spend the next few minutes doing. We're going to landscape this area all nice. And then we're going to move on to the third and final building in just a moment. And then just like the first building that we plopped down, I'm just going to build a little roundabout drop-off area. And then we're going to start on the landscaping. So sometimes here I just have to plop down a little test pattern just to make sure that I'm plopping down the right textures here, because I want to match everything all up and create a nice custom park, which is really going to complement this whole island. And now it's time to plop our third and final residential tower on Barlow Island. This one took a little bit of sifting in the Find It mod to find an appropriate building that looks nice and also fits, because, you know, this is kind of really tight quarters here. But I eventually settled on a European high-rise that I think just blends in beautifully with the surrounding area. So here it is. I think it's a 4x4 lot, so it doesn't take up all of the available room here. It gives me a little bit of wiggle room to build some landscaping. So we're going to work on the grounds around this building a little bit, and then we're going to move on to some of the more interesting features of this island. And with the 3 towers being plopped, you can begin to get a sense of what this whole island is going to look like. But now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of things. We're going to start to build some props, get some foliage down, build some little parks. Now that we have these beautiful little parkettes, we're able to squeeze those into very specific areas and make the island look all nice and beautiful. And then here, I'm going to struggle a little bit with the prop line tool. I want to build this hedge here in front of the Polaris suites, and sometimes it's just a little awkward when dealing with some very tight constraints. I struggle with that mod a little bit. It is very useful, but it just takes a little bit of time to get used to. But the results are really, really great, and it can save you a ton of time when detailing specific areas. So not only with hedges, I'm also going to build some little anti-pedestrian gates to, you know, keep people off the grass and those kind of things. But as you can see, it's a little bit of a struggle, but that's okay. And now, as far as foliage, you can see that I'm plopping down these wonderful palm trees and making this island look all lush and beautiful. But Oxburgh is kind of in a weird place, because in a number of episodes, I'm building these very tropical looking areas, you know, such as Hillside, which almost looks like Los Angeles or pretty much anywhere in Southern California. We have palm trees and beaches, but then you drive 1 block away and then you have birch trees, and we have a totally different climate. So, you know, I don't know. Oxburgh, I guess I'm not aiming for quite as much realism as I have in a lot of my other series. I'm just trying to go block by block and create something unique in each area. So I guess I just want to make you guys aware that you may see some inconsistencies here and there as far as that kind of thing goes, right? So we might see some palm trees alongside some pine trees alongside some birch trees. And you all know you're not going to find many birch trees in Florida. You'll find plenty of palm trees, though. But that's okay. We're trying to make Oxburgh a very unique and diverse city. Different kind of styles and whatnot within the same area. But I guess we could say that the city has various microclimates. With it being a very mountainous area, you know, maybe we can have various mini climates in different areas. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it all make sense. But it's all for fun at the end of the day. I'm having a really great time with this series, and I'm excited to see how the city evolves. And then what I'm doing now is I'm building a seawall using boulders. Again, using the prop line tool, this can very easily be done. This is one of the most easiest things to do. If you have this mod installed, highly recommend that if you're building any kind of shoreline or anything like that, just build a bunch of seawalls with boulders, and it just adds like that extra level of detail compared to, you know, just these boring old seashores with dirt. And of course, I'm going to have to go around other areas in the city that we've built so far and add some of these seawalls. Not everywhere. In some places, I have built actual seawalls with roads. But, you know, in this area, it wasn't really necessary. So I thought just some regular boulders would do just fine. Now, one thing that I've been noticing on this map, and you guys may have noticed it too, the water level seems to be dropping all over the map. So the sea level is remaining constant, but any rivers or lakes or whatever seem to be drying up. So at some point in this series, I'm gonna have to go and do a little bit of extra landscaping, maybe plop some water spawners upstream and that kind of thing. So the water level is seemingly a bit low in this episode. Okay, and probably in the next couple of episodes after this, it might reduce even more, but I'm gonna try to fix that at some point without flooding the entire map. That is, because it's quite easy to do in City Skylines 2. The water metrics, you know, the water behavior is rather unique, not at all like City Skylines 1. But anyways, we'll get around to fixing that at some point. And there you go, guys. We have the Polaris Suites all nice and decorated. And then we're going to move on to our first building here. I'm not really going to go too crazy. We just have this beautiful manicured lawn in the front. I'm just going to plop a whole bunch of trees and stuff. You know, maybe have like a nice picnic area that people can go out and take advantage of. Of course, this island is right next to downtown, so the location is perfect. You're pretty much in between of two of the greatest areas in the city. You're very close to the beach, you're close to Old Town, you're close to downtown. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to squeeze in some public transit on this island as well. Perhaps an elevated rail station because we have this train track going across, or maybe a subway station once we get into the city's metro. But whatever we do build here, it's going to be a challenge because of the island's size. It's a very tiny island. As you can see, an example of that right now, I'm trying to figure out what little parkette I can squeeze onto this island. And the reason why I'm doing this is, one, for looks, but also in order for these buildings to survive, we want the land value to remain high enough to where we actually attract the right residents in these buildings. And parks are a great way to do that. Parks are a great way to increase land value. And when your land value is high enough, then you have no problem finding residents for your buildings. And now for this next part, the last couple of minutes in this time-lapse mode, before moving on to some live play in just a moment, we're going to move on to this last little bit of this island where I'm going to plop some more amenities. And this is the little special Easter egg that I was mentioning a bit earlier on. We can't have a luxury condominium posh island without having some tennis courts. There's just something about tennis and wealth. They just go together. You know, the stereotypical kind of way. So I'm gonna go ahead and build various tennis courts as well as a basketball court over here on the other side of this island. This was totally unusable space anyways. You know, I wasn't gonna be able to fit a building in back here, so might as well just make this 100% props. That we don't have to provide road connections, we don't have to provide any water or anything like that. This area is gonna be just totally aesthetic, and we're gonna detail this little park area all nice to make it look pretty. Now, I know nothing about tennis or about most sports. I'm not a very sportive kind of person. So I kind of struggled to know, like, how is a tennis court built? So I actually ended up plopping a tennis court park just outside of the city just to see, like, okay, what kind of props does an actual tennis court come with? And then that gave me an idea on what to build over here. And then over here for this basketball court, we have this beautiful textured court. I've never actually seen this in the game before. I'm not sure if any particular buildings come with this texture, but I think it looked really cool. It certainly looks a lot better than just a plain Jane basketball court. So we're gonna build that. And this area is gonna look really cool as you're seeing it come to life right before your eyes. And now that we've completed Barlow Island, I want to start enacting measures to increase the city's population. As you can see, we're sitting just shy of 20,000 people, and we're actually making a pretty hefty profit at this point. But there's a catch. To achieve this profit, I had to cut a lot of services to the point where it's negatively affecting the city. And if I were to increase all of these services back to 100%, we'd probably be losing money. Now, I want to play the long game, and I'm going to implement some tax cuts in an effort to stimulate some residential demand, which will drive in some more taxpayers into town, and hopefully in the long run, it'll balance everything out and we'll be better off in the long run. So, you know, with this 170,000-ish that I'm making, 150,000 that I'm making in monthly profit, I should be able to afford a sizable residential tax cut. So we're going to start by lowering our tax rate to maybe 8%. Let's see what that's going to do. Okay, wow. So that's pretty much cut our monthly balance by about $100,000. But just like clockwork, look at that. It's stimulating some medium density residential demand, just like that. So that is fantastic news, which means that we can start to upzone a lot of different parts of town, thus bringing more people into the city, more taxpayers, and then hopefully we're going to be able to recoup these losses. But I am actually still making $60,000 a month. I could potentially lower commercial taxes a little bit, but see, commercial taxes account for the most amount of profit in town, so I really don't want to cut too much of that. Because even just a 1% reduction, that's really digging into our profits here. And oh my god, okay, we're actually losing money again. So maybe I don't want to do that right away. But, you know, we're just losing a little bit. So I think we're still okay for now. But anyways, the whole point of doing that is to be able to start building some more residences. So instead of expanding the city, what I'd like to do instead is to start upzoning a lot of Hillside over here, right? So Hillside is very near downtown, and I feel like it would be more appropriate to upzone this whole area into, I'm thinking probably a mixture of northeastern and southwestern style residential. So I'm going to go over here into some of these neighborhoods that are quite crammed together. Like, nobody should have a backyard that tiny, right? In a single family home. So let's demolish this whole neighborhood, and then what I'm going to do here is build a mixture of northeastern style housing, and then for the rest let's do some row houses in the middle. And then if I demolish all of this, we should immediately start seeing some housing development. Perfect. And yeah, guys, look at that. Our demand is just surging now. Absolutely fantastic to see that. So let's go ahead in here and do the same. I think if I take this path away, let's do some southwest and northeast style housing here. And yeah, sometimes your zones don't play nice. So in this instance, what I would do is go into my Find It menu, and let's manually shove an apartment building in here. So let's do a little 2x2. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's do northeast. Yeah, just like that. And then maybe I can fit another little row house here in the back. Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Maybe a smaller one, though. I really want to kind of keep things small a little bit over here. So yeah, let's do that. Perfect. I think that's going to look wonderful, guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go throughout this neighborhood here. And we're going to start to rezone a lot of what I built up. So let's go down Hamilton Lane. Let's pause the game real quick as I demolish these zones. And then over here, let's do some southwest style housing. And here's a little mini hack that I'm going to introduce. We have these little two-way narrow streets, but if I convert these into one-way streets, then we actually have parking. And in the city of Oxburgh, most parking lots are paid. So then we can actually get a little bit of extra revenue as a result. And then just to make sure here, okay, yes, we have enabled the roadside parking fee. Just double checking here in Hillside, so we'll be able to squeeze a few dollars out of our residents by them parking on the side of the streets here. So some of these side streets, I'll just convert them into one-ways. And, you know, these streets are super narrow. They, you know, this kind of reminds me of like Philadelphia kind of thing, right? We have these really old one-way streets. So I guess it just makes sense for them to be one-way. But, yeah, the upzoning is absolutely going fantastic. And I can't wait to take a look at our economical, to see how well we're doing. Let's just take a quick glance here. Oh my god, look at that. We're right back where we were, guys. In this little blip here, little increase in population. I'm sure there's probably other factors that have influenced this, but we're doing absolutely fantastic economically. And the city is just getting started. So this is really, really great to see. What is going on here? Why? Okay, I guess I'll just put a little side street in the back. And then we can go ahead and squeeze in one more row house in behind here. And then let's reduce our crosswalk count along all of these streets. There we go. All right. Now, some of these properties I really like. More of like these kind of California style houses and some of these like more modern block houses. These are single family homes and I would like to keep them here. The only thing is, the reason why I'm upzoning a lot of this neighborhood is I feel like a lot of these houses are like American suburban style and they don't really fit very well into what should be like a very, you know, kind of historic part of the city, right? With Hillside being so close to downtown and Old Town, I feel like a lot of these properties should have been built in a lot more of like an old style compared to these modern style houses. So that is why I am upzoning a lot of this place. These, there we go. Okay, so it looks like I've extinguished my medium density demand. I still have a ton of high density demand for some reason, but I don't want to start building too much high density just yet. I would like to work on other parts of the town first. But we do have quite a bit of commercial demand, which we might want to explore. Is there anywhere we could build some more commercial? We're pretty much maxed out here. This is all going to be residential for the most part. We don't really have any room to change zones very much. But in addition to all of this, we do have some industrial demand, which I have a ton of room for over here in the industrial zone. So since we have a little bit of demand to play with in the meantime, while we're waiting for our residential demand to come back, let's zone in just a little bit of industrial zonage in some of these cracks here, just to satisfy this little bit of demand that we have. And I suppose we have a little bit of extra room to build some commercial as well over here by the entrance of the industrial area. And I suppose over here on Linden Street as well, which is kind of like a main artery that's going to lead into whatever part of town this is going to be. I'm not really sure yet what's going to happen here. I'm thinking of making like kind of like a little residential quiet neighborhood over here, but we'll see about that. And yeah, okay, so that's taking care of some of the demand. And then we're starting to see a little bit of medium density coming back as everything is zoning in here. Let's take another glance at our economic situation. We're doing really, really good, guys. I'm actually kind of surprised that we're able to balance things so quickly. You know what? I'm thinking that as we grow the city, let's maybe look at increasing our services again. So healthcare was a big one. A lot of people were getting sick and not being able to go to the hospital because there wasn't enough ambulances and yada, yada, yada. So let's increase our budget back up to 80%. Are we able to afford this? Yeah, we can comfortably afford that. Water and sewage, I think we're okay. 94% is fine. Garbage management, we're not seeing any big garbage pile-ups, so I think we're okay there. Education, I guess we can boost this back up to 100%. Education is pretty important, right? So let's stick with that. And I think everything else, parks, transportation, this would be road maintenance, I'm assuming. Or no, this would be roads. I'm not sure. We don't have any public transit, so I don't know what this is. Policing, 90%. You know, everything is between 80 and 100%, so I think we're okay for now. And, you know, we're not making a ton of money. We still want to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. But, yeah, let's continue. Look at that. Our demand is just blasted right back up to maximum, so that means we can continue expanding. There we go. So, delete these two properties. Is it possible for these to be 3 deep? Yes, perfect. See, these properties as well, these kind of like boxy houses I really like. So I'm going to keep those around. So anytime there's like 2 deep, I'm going to go with the northeastern style. And anything that is 3 or more deep, I'm going to go with the southwestern style. And the reason is the Art Deco apartments I like, but the problem is, actually in this case I could probably just go for it. But the problem is, anytime there is a 2 blocks deep southwestern style row house, it will be Art Deco, which means like if I zone this entire block here with southwestern, these would all be exactly identical buildings, such as like these 3 right here. Which, you know, these buildings are nice and everything, but it's just, you know, I don't want an entire neighborhood of them. So that is why I'm just going to zone a few here and there. And then, you know what? There's nothing wrong with the vanilla apartment building, so I'm just going to squeeze in a few here and there. And then let's maybe do some southwest full-size apartments over and behind here. And then let's rezone these. Oh yeah, perfect. And you know, I like these properties. Even though this one is kind of like in that typical American suburb style, I guess it doesn't matter if we have, you know, one property or two within all of this this development here. So let's do some more southwestern style. And I don't know, I don't think there's any 4 deep southwestern row housing properties. So in this case, I'll just go vanilla. Because the vanilla buildings, nothing wrong with them, right? They still look absolutely fantastic for the most part. And then let's do some northeastern style apartment buildings as well. Let's get a nice diverse mixture of different building styles in here. We're just having fun. Actually, let's do that, and then this. And then let's see what that gives. Yeah, okay, sure. And then there's nothing in back here, so let's maybe see. No, we can't quite fit a parking lot, although we can fit a little motorcycle parking lot, which looks like a normal parking lot. Okay, and over here on the southern shore, we have all of these suburban homes, which, you know, don't really fit well in this area. So I would like to actually keep all of these houses in single family homes, but what I'm going to do here is transform all of them into European style waterfront housing, and then it's going to transform all of these properties into a kind of like Mediterranean style, which I think would fit a bit better in this region because they kind of look the part. They kind of look a little more historic than these American suburban homes. So let's rezone this entire area. You know, I really don't know why I didn't do this in the very beginning, because I think it would have looked a little better. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep this property because it does look kind of nice. And then maybe some of these houses with red roofs like that I'll keep. I think they kind of look the part. But most of all of these properties are going to be demolished and replaced. This is severely going to affect my city's demographics. Well, not really my demographics, but it's going to affect the city as all of these people move out. And I forget, did I rezone these properties? I'm not really sure. I think I did. Maybe I should have only done like a little bit at a time, but that's okay. Let's plow through this neighborhood. And this is kind of a gamble. I'm not really sure how this is going to turn out, but I think it's going to be all right. There, let's try that. And then these Mediterranean style houses are hopefully going to fit in quite nicely with the southwestern style houses. And there we go. We literally have an entire neighborhood that's being reconstructed. And then let's just get the last few houses over here. Actually, I'm rezoning some of these houses, but I probably want to keep some of them, like this one, for example. And then this one is nice. So let's rezone all of this. And it's pretty much taken away all of my demand, so it might take a few minutes for all of this to complete. But we'll have to check in just a moment to see how everything has worked out. And to my surprise, oh my god, we still have a ton of medium demand, which is beyond my expectations. So what are we going to do? Let's go check out this part of town. You know, over here, I guess I could upzone some of these neighborhoods into like full-blown apartments. So let's maybe transform some of these into like northeastern style apartments, and then maybe some southwestern as well. I'm gonna try to get everything into a nice diverse mix over here. Oh, did I rezone these ones? I don't even know. There, let's redo that. Oh, perfect. Look at that. And then, you know, this is a main corridor, and we do have quite a bit of commercial demand, so maybe I want to consider building maybe some northeastern commercial zone in behind here. Just like so. Okay. There, let's start with that. And oh, awesome. Some of these new properties are coming in. Now, some of these properties are probably going to have to be upgraded. Like, you know, this property is really beautiful. Like, this is kind of what I imagine being over here because it is, you know, these big mansions. This is a very appropriate location for this style of house because it's really close to the beautiful views of downtown and whatnot. But we're going to start off small. You know, a lot of these properties are going to have to upgrade over time and you know, become the best version of themselves. But I think this is, I'm already liking this a little more. Oh crap, did I forget to rezone these ones? You know what, I'm just curious. What if I do North American style over in this corner? I'm just curious to see how this would blend in. Here, let's do all of this. Rezone this and that. Oh, we don't have any demand, so we'll just have to wait a moment. But yeah, that completely changes the city. Wow, all right. Well, I'm liking the way this is looking, guys. What about you? Let me know down in the comments what you think of this this modification we've done here to the city. And look at this. Economically, we're right back where we were, just at 170,000 in profit every month. And with that, I could probably afford to increase some of my services yet again. Maybe let's do 90% of healthcare just because it is very important. Education is already at 100%. Awesome. Wow. We have completely transformed the city. Oh no, it looks like we have a fire over here. And do we even have any fire protection services? Oh my god, the only fire station in town right now is in Old Town. Okay, let's pause the game. And we definitely want to look into building a new firehouse. But which one do we go with? Do we go with the typical American style, or do we maybe go with like a city firehouse, which kind of matches up with a lot of these buildings by the beach? Or do we go with like a northeastern style? Endless options. But whatever option we go with, it's gonna pretty much decimate whatever money we have left. But I think I'm just gonna go with the classic US style. But where do we put it now is the question. So I'm gonna turn off anarchy here, and we're gonna try to find a spot. Maybe, see, this area is so dense, right? And like almost all of it is kind of importance. But I guess over here, maybe on Cozy Street. Oh yeah. Right on the main street like this, I think would look pretty cool, and it fits just perfectly. So let's go ahead and do that. And hopefully we're going to get a fire engine that's going to spawn immediately and go tend to this property before it spreads too much. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, I've just spotted these little suburban homes. I'm going to convert these into, I guess let's do American style beachfront housing or waterfront housing. And oh, it might take a few minutes for these to grow because I have no demand at the moment. And oh my god, how many of these exact same businesses can we have? Here, let's replace some of these with some good old northeastern